Let's look at some graphs and their attributes. So the top part of this, we're given a graph and we want to know some of its attributes. So let's look. Y-intercept. This is where it crosses the y-axis. Remember, this one is the y-axis, and it's crossing right here at -2. And we write that as a point, 0, -2. This is my y-axis, so it goes in my y spot. My 0 is where it crosses the x-axis. X-axis is this right here. It's crossing right here as at 1, and we write that at 1, 0. Our slope. The easiest way if you're given a graph and no function to figure out slope is identify the y-axis, the y-intercept and the x-intercept, and then count first up or down and then left or right from one point to the other. So we went 1, 2, so I said count up or down first. So starting here, I always start at the leftmost point and then go to the rightmost point. We go 1, 2, so we went up 2 and then over 1. And so we put how many we went up on top and then how many we went over on the bottom. 2 divided by 1 is 2. This is facing this way, so it's a +2. So slope is +2. Let's look at it if we got our quadratics. Again, the y-intercept is where it's crossing the y-axis. That doesn't change, and it's crossing this axis right here at 0. The point is 0, 0. The zeros, again, are where it crosses the x-axis. And this one, it crosses right here at 0, 0. And then it also crosses right here at 6, 0. Remember, my vertex is the top or the bottom, right where it starts to curve. And that's curving right here at this point. And that point is 3, 3. Remember, my axis of symmetry is the x value of your vertex. So that's x equals 3. And if we were to put that on the graph, that would be this imaginary line right there. All right, our exponential graphs, our y-intercept still is where it crosses the y-axis. So it is crossing right here. If I count, that's 1, 2, 3. So we write that as 0, 3. And the x-intercept still is where it's crossing the x-axis, and it's crossing right here at +2. So we write that as 2, 0. All right. These two graphs are, just kidding. This graph is a graph of something in real life happening. It looks like our fuel decreases as we drive more hours. So what does the y-intercept represent? So this is still the y-axis, and it says 200. So what is that representing? It's representing, if this is the leftmost value of my graph, then that's my starting point. So your y-axis, your y-intercept for these kinds of real life graphs is your starting point. So it represents that we start with 200 gallons of fuel. So when you're looking at these for multiple choice questions, you're looking at something that represents 200 and fuel. And then the y-intercept, that's right here, that's going to represent the x-intercept, the end. So it also represents the number of driven hours. And when we get to this y-intercept, we've driven 20 hours and now our fuel is. So it represents how long until fuel runs out. It took 20 hours to run out of gas. All right. Again, if you are asked about the x-intercept on these, we are looking at where it crosses this axis, and you're going to look for that number that it crosses at, matching up with what it represents. The graph of the quadratic is shown on the grid. The coordinates of the x-intercepts, y-intercept, and vertex are integers. What is the maximum value of g? So we are looking for maximum value. So we want the topmost y value. So that would be at the vertex. So first, find the vertex, which is right here. That's at 2, 9. Since we want the maximum value, that is this one right here. So if you do have a numerical response like this, you would type in the number +9. Which statement about the graph here is true? Let's graph this one. Menu 3, 1, 8, open parentheses, 0.25, arrow up, x. All right, so what is true? The coordinates of the x-intercept are 0.25, 0. It looks like, to me, yeah, there's an asymptote at x equals 0, so it never crosses that x-axis. If I trace it on my graph, it brings me up to the y-intercept at 0, 8. The coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, 8. That is true. The equation for the asymptote is x equals 0. Remember, this is y equals 0. Our asymptotes are the y equals. The graph includes the 0.21. So I can arrow over until I get to 2. My x value is 2. That y value is not 1. All right. The graph of the linear function passes through the point and has a slope of this. What is the graph? What is the 0 of the graph? All right, so let's plot this point, 1, -9. We've got a slope of -3, so that means that we're going to go, really that's 3, 1. So we're going to go up 3 and to the left 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. 0 is where it crosses the x-axis. Where is it crossing the x-axis at? That -2, 0.